Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Triple Strand Ranch. Here in the kitchen today, we're going to talk to you about this new deal here. This is a spicy Sammich seasoning. That's what we're going to call it for a little while. It's very similar to our TSR Creole seasoning, but it's a little hotter. And instead of using powdered jalapeno, I used powdered hot banana peppers. So it's a different flavor profile. And I also use smoked salt in this one instead of regular salt. It is low on the salt, just like the Creole, because I prefer it that way. In order to really coat your meat, like you're seeing here with these sirloin tips, you really got to keep it low on the salt. And you can add more salt if necessary, but like we spoke about last time, you can't take salt away. So this is going to be a beef sandwich. It's not a Philly. It's just a steak sandwich, okay? Now, notice here, if you take your wedge and you cut around the outside of the bell pepper, you can take it all off like that. It's real easy. Then you can split it up to make it easier for yourself. Now, I'm not a professional in the kitchen here by any stretch of the imagination, but I figured out a way to do things without hurting myself, and that is kind of cool. So this works for me. Now, if you'd rather dice your vegetables, do that. If you want to throw them against the wall, and then pick up the pieces and fry them up that way, you can do that. The moral of the story here is do what you want, do what you like, do what makes you feel good when you're in the kitchen. These recipes these are just guidelines, really. So try it. Try it this way. And if you don't like it this way, change it up. You can always add to and mix things up at your whims. So we've got some bell pepper and some onions, and that's all I really needed for this sandwich. And we're going to chop them large before we get the meat going. Now, placing our meat into a hot pan, which should have been hotter than it was, but it wasn't. So we just put our meat in there anyway and hoped for the best. This is going to brown, and I wish it was hotter so it would have browned quicker. But it wasn't, and it didn't. It is what it is. It still turned out great. But that kind of goes along with what we were saying, doesn't it? Take it easy and relax. If you like your meat to be a little more rare, use a different cut of meat. Use something thicker, and then cut it into slices afterwards. It's not a big deal. This was relatively affordable. As I'm sure you're aware, beef is pretty crazy right now. So we took it easy on the cost here. But this still turned out really, really good. So just use whatever cut of beef you want, really. If you like it fattier, use ribeye. If you don't, use these sirloins. Doesn't matter. So we're going to add our vegetables into the pan after we're done searing our meat, and the vegetables are going to sweat, and that's going to allow you to deglaze the pan. They're going to pick up all of those good crispy bits. Now, I'm not going to take the big chunks of black out of there that you can see. Whoops. But, whoops. The rest of that is flavor, and it's going to flavor the whole sandwich, so it's important to do it. Then we're going to remove the vegetables and put them into a bowl. If you like them a little more cooked, cook them a little longer. If you like them raw, put them on raw. Doesn't matter. So you see our meat is still left there, sitting on a plate, and has been for a while as it rests. We want to reserve all of the juices that come out of it, so it's important that you do that. Cut the top of your bread into a V pattern, kind of like you're making a bread canoe. And that's going to give us a better platform to keep all of our ingredients on the bread. Now, these rolls are somewhat too small for this agenda, but we're going to give it a shot anyway, and we're going to make it work. And once you've taken the tops off of your bread, you want to take the crumb off of the top section. That is to say, the soft parts on the inside of the bread. Take that off. We don't need that. One thing I hate about a sandwich is when it is mostly bread. You know what I'm talking about. You get those sandwiches from the gas station or something, and you're really hungry, and you just really want a sandwich, and you bite into it, and it's about 3 inches of bread with one piece of ham in the middle of there, and I hate that. Now, I also don't like overstuffing a sandwich in most cases. So take that bread out of there. You can take it out on the bottom too, but you're probably going to want to keep it on the bottom, and you'll see why in a moment. So we're going to slice our meat across the grain, assuming we got that right. It's hard to see the grain. I take my glasses off so that I can cook and I don't get grease all over them. Taste the meat so you know you got it right. In this case, we did. But so it's hard for me to see the grain, but I'm pretty sure we got it right here. If you cut across the grain and you cut thin like this, it'll break apart when you bite into it and you won't struggle while you eat the sandwich. You also have the option of continuing to chop this down and make it smaller. And that would make it easier to eat as well. Whichever you like. Really, it's up to you. And we're going to repeat this process for all of the meat here. And then we're going to stuff it into our sandwiches. So, any which way. If you're using long pieces like this, put it on like this. This worked out real well. Now you can start to see how that V gives us an advantage. So it forces everything down into the middle. It helps keep everything on the bread. Now, double check your bread when you do this to make sure you're not accidentally putting it onto the top of the bread instead of the bottom. That would cause a problem in the future. But for now, we got it right. Taste a little more meat. Why not? It's yours. So you can see here, we're going to add this juice, right? These are the drippings from the beef back onto the beef. So not only is it going to continue to flavor that beef and moisten it, but that's going to seep down into the bread as well. Now, the bread is going to catch it, whatever is left after it gets through that meat. It wasn't that much, but the bread will hold it in there and keep that flavor locked. Now, this is smoked provolone. Use whatever cheese you want, or don't use cheese at all, whatever. If you do use cheese, put it on there. Preheat your oven to 400, and then we're going to put these, along with the tops, into the oven. Pull them out once the cheese is melted to your satisfaction and the bread is browned and crispy if you like it that way. I'm going to use this bread knife here to press down in the middle, again allowing us to put some vegetables on there. I bet you if you ate it just like that though, you'd be happy about it. If you're like me, and I like cheese and meat, it's really hard to mess that up, especially when it's flavored so nicely. This seasoning really is a hit. So we're going to put our vegetables on top of there. Now at this point, you can go crazy. You can put cilantro on there. You can put mayonnaise on there. You can do really anything you want other than A1. If you put A1 steak sauce on steak, you probably don't like steak, so just stop it. Just kidding. But really, just go crazy. It's a sandwich. Get creative. You know what? The sandwiches are like the Legos of the lunch world, right? You just build them however you want. Kids can do it, anybody can do it. So these turned out really crunchy, really brown. They were just fantastic. Now, I don't typically like crunchy bread, maybe on a Cuban or something. It's only occasional that I even eat crusty bread. But this stuff was crunchy, and it was not hard to eat. It was messy, but man, it was flavorful. Probably one of my top 5 steak sandwiches of all time. And I've made a lot. I do enjoy my sandwiches. So how does she taste? Let's find out. Oh yeah. And moist and messy and things are falling off of it. It's probably a pretty bad idea. What with the beard and all. We'll find out. Wow. That's good. I'm making a mess. We'll see you next time.